Okay guys, just myself and Stephen back in the studio after a trip to Dubai. It was a good one, wasn't it?
Yeah, mate, you must be sick of the sight of me.
Well, at least we weren't sharing a room. That could have been worse.
Yeah.
We had our own rooms.
You definitely been sick of the sight of my snoring and farting, I'm sure.
We didn't have any fallouts, did we? We were actually alright. A couple of wee kind of, you wanted to go one way and I wanted to go the other way, and I says, no, this is the way. You says, no, that's the way, and then we end up in a fucking motorway somewhere.
That sounds a bit right. Normally it was, aye.
I said, trust Google Maps, listen to Google. Just basically, guys, this is a summary of our trip. Obviously, we tried to put a few clips up in stories and social media, and we wanted just to tell you what our plans were for releasing the content. And we obviously were busy. It wasn't just a holiday for us, was it?
Oh, it was flat out, mate. I thought we had managed to sort it out that we'd get a day on the Sunday to chill and actually enjoy Dubai. We didn't, because our community. I was so shocked and surprised at how large our community was that we didn't quite realise. So obviously people were reaching out to you on the page on Instagram or whatever, and they were just like, yep, can I meet you for a coffee, can I meet you for a breakfast, let's go for lunch. So we ended up pretty much getting about an hour and a half, 2 hours at the beach one day. That was it.
Jumped in the water for 5 minutes, had a wee lie down, listened to a podcast at the side of the beach, and that was it. That was the only downtime we had. We had one night where we had a couple of beers and a cocktail.
It was nice. It was good. It was a really good trip.
You were ordering those cocktails, man. They were absolutely disgusting. I ended up giving mine away to you.
Even better, mate. I'm a greedy bugger when it comes to drink.
Stick to the beers, but it was quite pricey as well. It's no cheap place.
It was nice though. I think it was good for both us to open our eyes up. I mean, the amount of people we speak to, we'll probably chat about this on this episode, of who we spoke to, who we recorded episodes, what we did. But we got a nice variety of people we spoke to. We didn't just speak to young people that are out there living the dream. We spoke to guys like Keza that in his 40s with a young family as well. Ross.
We'll go through a couple of guests later on, but obviously you've been there before numerous times. That was my first time there, and I just wanted to go and see what the fuss was about, because
what was the initial reaction? What was your initial thoughts when you saw it?
So I knew it was going to be wow, this is big. I had visions in my head, all the skyscrapers and the big tall buildings and the glitz and the glamour, the fast cars and the money and all that. So that didn't disappoint. I seen all that, and I'm not really into fast cars and stuff. It doesn't really float my boat.
I got excited enough for both of us when we heard the Lamborghini pass.
You did, and you kept hearing them outside. You were like, I seen your head turning. Every time you could hear one, you were like, where's that coming from?
Yeah, most people get distracted with girls walking along in bikinis or something like that. I just get twitches when I hear the sound of a V10 or a V8 or something like that.
Well, two married men there, mate. Yeah. We weren't looking at any girls, obviously, but so what I did find was amazing just from the very moment we got there, how clean it was, absolutely spotless.
Yeah.
Even arriving at the airport, everyone's marble, isn't it? And it's just dead clean, and everybody was well respecting everybody else's space. There was a guy actually tried to duck under the the ropes in the passport queue, and I seen he was trying to duck under, and he got a telling off. He got a dressing down from the guy that was trying to control the line.
Yeah. And it was quiet. It wasn't like he was doing anything to push in on it, and he still got it.
Then we hit the passport control desk, and they were giving away free SIM cards, and I was like, geez, they've got it sorted here. I mean, obviously a big part of their economy is tourism.
Yeah.
That's obviously how the whole place grew, but off the back of that, it seems to have become this kind of business hub and this mass place for outside investment now as well. And reading into it a little bit, there's huge investment coming in from Asia, from India, for new build developments. There's a lot of investment coming in from China and Russia and all this.
I'm glad we're getting a week post after we've came back to do this episode, because I think from both our point of views, and we're going out there and you're looking at what opportunities are out there for investors, as property business owners in Scotland. Can you still go out to Dubai, run your business, grow your business? Can you do it out there? Is there a lot of crossover in the transition there? And obviously, I think when we went out, we're probably quite, I don't know, I think I get beaten down when I listen to a fucking market update with you on once a month about the doom and gloom and the economy and the government and the state of the place. And I think we'd mentioned the state of fucking Glasgow city centre. It's minging, and then obviously we go out there and everything's spotless, and you're like, wow. And then you're thinking about the tax bish and how much you can't actually earn so much money from a limited company before you're just getting taxed so heavily. And out there, it's obviously tax free personal income tax. They've now put their income or their corporation tax up to 9%, but it's over a certain amount as well in a corporate. So it's almost tax free. So I think we were going out there with kind of rose tinted glasses, thinking this is going to be fucking cool, and obviously doom and gloom going out to everything was brilliant out there.
When you think about it, I mean, give you a little bit of the stats here. They reckon there's about 250,000 UK citizens that have moved to Dubai. You know, a lot of them will be at the moment, a lot of people that have got digital businesses that can operate from anywhere in the world. They're now relocating to Dubai, obviously for the reasons that you've just touched on there. You know, we're just getting hammered with tax, you know, so you've got all that going in there. You've got, in 2024, approximately 22,000 British nationals relocated to Dubai. That was just in 1 year. You know, and that's just from the UK. We came across a lot of Scottish people, didn't we?
I don't think we spoke to anyone except from Scottish people, pretty much.
You know, we'll get into the ins and outs of the real estate.
The Scottish people were flying the flag in real estate out there. It was really cool to see, so that was quite cool.
The estate agency, but I also got a really good vibe, just a really good positive energy for anybody who was trying to, you know, aspire to do better for themselves and to grow their business and stuff like that. You know, wealth is not kind of
frowned upon, or
you know, like people are like genuinely happy to see people doing well out there, and everybody's kind of.
I think that was our that was the big issue for us. Is obviously coming out from the our own reality in Scotland, the weather, the negativity. You know, trying to put yourself on social media and trying to grow a business, trying to grow staff, teams, and a bit of a lazy culture have became. And then you go out to Dubai, it's clean, it's spotless, just, you know, it's safe, it's tax free, and then we start seeing how positive everyone is and how everyone's driven by commission, and you know, the harder they work, the more they earn, the more they're rewarded, the more they're respected, the more they're celebrated, and we're like, wow, this is fucking cool to see this, like this whole positive spin on success and wealth, and want to better yourself.
I was amazed at how many different cultures and nationalities there were. It just seemed like, you know, like for the moment you get the taxi driver, they were like either from Pakistan or India, probably most of them. You know, the shopkeepers, you know, somewhere else. You know, walking around the marina, you've got Ukrainians, you've got Chinese, you've got Russians, you've got...
It's a melting pot, wasn't it?
Aye, a total melting pot. But one of the things that I did pick up on was because it's so diverse and it's so multicultural, it's almost like it doesn't have its own soul. You know, like if you go to a city like New York, London, somewhere like that, you've got there's a real kind of atmosphere.
I think you'd mentioned something the night we were having a couple of drinks as well. Like there's nothing edgy about it.
Yeah,
there's nothing. You knew nothing could pop off.
Well, if you do something, like you get involved in a fight or something like that, or you get caught kissing your bird.
Well, it wasn't like that. It's very westernised.
I think reading on it, I mean, I think it used to be that for any crime, like if you get caught like a robbery or something like that, you used to get your hands cut off. But I think since 2020 or something like that, they've kind of progressed a little bit on the punishment side of things. But
I think what I liked seeing from your perspective, I've seen it for the first time, is it's almost those stereotypical perceptions that we build up on somewhere like Dubai. Like, it's the glitz and glam, and it's all people are going to be going about fucking ripped with a Lamborghini and all this. And you know, it wasn't like that. We saw the reality, and you know, and obviously the westernized how civilization's changed toward a westernized civilization that it isn't strict with cultures. You respect our culture. And I think on the very first morning before we recorded the first podcast, you had your back to the girl that came down for breakfast in one long thing. I don't even know what the fuck it is, but it's like holy dress thing that overcovers her, and because she was wearing some thong bikini underneath it, the woman waiter, she kind of gave up and told her to cover up. So there was that, but it's almost just respecting their culture, and and it's their land, it's their culture.
I wasn't a big fan of the prayer call going off at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Right, the hotel.
Night. Nah, no big fan of that. It was because we went in the month of Ramadan as well, so not ideal. And then we couldn't find one of those brunches that everybody kept talking us to. It was like, so everyone was like, go to Saffron. That's where the brunch is.
It probably wasn't a bad thing for us. It means
we were there at work. We were there to work. And then I tell you what, the other thing that could really catch on, this would be something that I would put in my... if I was doing flips and all the rest of it, putting in that scooshy thing on the toilet, scooshes up your arse. Absolutely brilliant. Did you try it, by the way?
I think we ended up speaking with Callum White about that. Like, the arse cleaning.
You don't need toilet paper. It's brilliant. Just go like that, squish your ring, and that's it. Sorted.
You're walking about in the puddles, everyone else is shit in the public toilet. Yeah.
So there's a lot of pros. What about the cons then? What didn't you like? Any other things that you didn't?
Yeah, I think the same as what maybe you had touched on as well, like a bit of the lack of edginess, which was nice because I think as family men, you're looking at it from, if you relocate out there, your kids are safe. There's no bullying. They're very well kept. I think the other con is people get deluded by two things. One, it's we can make loads of money in Dubai, but I think for me, Sam, we'll talk about the guests we're done. You fucking work for it. Yeah. You're grafting for it. They put in the effort. There's not this lifestyle that I think that you'd be fooled in social media thinking.
That's a good point. There is maybe a lot of bullshit on social media.
No, it's not. It's the way people perceive it. Right. So you might see something like we've spoken about this quite a wee bit when we're on the trip. You might see someone posting up a brunch on a Sunday or a Saturday, and obviously maybe in the morning they've took a picture of their outside view of the marina or whatever that when they're walking to work. And you're just thinking, oh wow, Dubai looks amazing, they're having a great life. But no, out of the whole week they've posted up 2 5-second stories. One of them's at their only downtime for a few hours, another time is walking to work because it looks beautiful and clean. And you're thinking, oh, what a great lifestyle. But we saw the reality, and I think it's us that kind of kid ourselves on that we think it's all fancy out there.
Well, we just touched on the guests then. So we had Callum White, and obviously a guy from Edinburgh went out there 10 years ago, started off his own real estate brokerage, now has 400
phenomenal
staff, 400 agents, agents.
If you want to get a heads up on this episode, go and back and listen to, I think it was 2021, 22. We had him over Zoom on the podcast during COVID. I think he had maybe 100 brokers at a time. He was starting to build up a bit of traction, a bit of name for himself out there. He's taken it to the next level. He's one of the biggest real estate brokers in Dubai. And it was phenomenal.
What about the visit to his office on that Monday morning?
I mean, he kindly picked us up as well. His chauffeur-driven, customised Mercedes, so that was nice of him there. And like you say, then obviously on the podcast, look, I'll invite you along to the sales call on the Monday morning with his team of brokers, and it was something like fucking Wolf of Wall Street. It was brilliant. I loved it. I thought this is the culture I can get on board. This is the reason why Dubai's a thriving economy. In the UK, in my opinion, is fucking dying. Like it was that, you could almost sum it up on that morning.
But it was also an insight, like you say, into some people do get sold the dream, then they go out there and think it'll be easy, and it was far from that. But Callum was quite honest with him. He was like, look, this is
you make money when you work.
Yeah, so
if you don't, you're fucking back on a flight.
It was interesting hearing his sort of speech on the Monday morning to the team and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was great.
So that's one episode. Next up we had Ewan Dudding. So Ewan, we've had on, everybody will know Ewan probably, but we've had him on a couple of times. A podcast pretty much owns half of Stirling, and probably more now.
Do you know what I mean? We spoke about this a good bit out in Dubai as well. It's like the guests that we bring on, and we're almost like, we're running out of guests, and you're getting people come through, and we're kind of trying to be cautious of who we're getting on the jump on social media and think they're, look at this guy, he's doing phenomenal. But we know a lot of shit on social media can look a lot better than it is. But I like having guests like Ewan on. Ewan came on when I think he maybe had 10 or 12 in his portfolio very first time. Then he came on about a year and a half ago, he had 50. Now he's at 100 properties, now relocated to Dubai. So to get him on the podcast, now he's known it, he's building his portfolio, he's still running his team, he's still
mortgage broker,
still being his mortgage broker, all remotely from Dubai. That was a nice take on it, because it was a bit familiarity for us as well.
He's no long moved out there, so he's quite new to it. So he was really good, and he must be doing all right. He's flying out his dog in a private jet.
I don't know, did he say that on air or did he say that there privately? So we ended up having dinner with you a couple of nights as well, which was good to get a bit of chat off air as well.
Yeah. So after that we had Ian Bailey, Exo Real Estate, so another real estate brokerage.
I'm going to apologise in advance about his episodes, because we've not seen the edit, but on Ian's, we'd obviously got in at 2 o'clock in the morning, we were straight into the podcast the next day, and the woman that was editing the podcast starts nodding off on the desk, and I'm sitting there obviously quite along for like out there just working, and I started looking at her as you were talking to Ian, And I'm obviously looking at
getting
napping, and I'm like, oh, that looks fucking good. Next minute I felt myself just like nodding off. So I don't know. I hope that's not been picked up on the
Just as well,
podcast.
you can never get that word done edgeways anyway.
Well, I think you called me out on it, but I'm like, thank fuck you, Kai, that conversation.
But Ian is great. Guy, he's been out there a couple of years now.
Yep. So he was
estate
partners
agent
with Kyle Black that had done the podcast recently.
Exactly. So that was Kyle Black who told us to get in touch, and Ian was brilliant because he spent some time with us on the Monday as well, showing us around some properties, some refurbs. So it was good to get an insight of that, some of the renovations that were going on.
What I found phenomenal with Ian as well was that he was telling us about the owner of the company that he works for. XO was, where was he from? Was it Motherwell? Or?
Motherwell.
Yeah.
Because so Ian's from Prestwick.
Yeah, it's a lot. It just seemed to be every top broker that we went to, we spoke to, the owners were Scottish. Like we walked into another one, it was on Saturday.
Harris Hisco.
Yeah, so we saw Harris Hisco on this Saturday morning.
And he works for the Spas, it's called, and the owner of that.
The owner of that was there's him in his kilt on the wall. The guy John, he was Scottish as well.
He's from Kilbarchan, so I think quite a lot of strong.
And they're a real player in Dubai as well.
How was that office, by the way? That's beautiful. Overlooking the marina, all done up.
So Harris was really good because the interview with Harris was quite good because it was an informal catch up over breakfast. We were like, no, this guy's got phenomenal value. He's been out there a few years. He's already been promoted to the director of leasings for a spa. So we pretty much just set the mics and the cameras up at the breakfast table and just started having a chat with him. He started explaining a lot about the investment market, the rental market, how it all worked, how the lay of the land works. Obviously, we got it before from Callum White on the and Ian Bailey on the real estate and the sales commission, which obviously sales commissions are good, but a lot of people that go out and start there, they usually start on leasing. They find their feet, they get the commissions are smaller, but they can start getting their commissions in, and then obviously the glitz and glamour attraction is let's go into the sales commission where they're bigger.
I felt he gave us good insight.
Really good
just
insight.
On that investing, like obviously you get a lot of people talking about great opportunities investing in Dubai, property prices in some areas of Dubai are up 20% on the last couple of years or year or something like that. They're experiencing a real boom at the moment, and when you go through the city, there's cranes and big high rises going up everywhere. What's your initial, obviously as an investor back here, what's your initial feeling about that and the opportunities?
Boom and bust. So
let's take a quick break, guys, from today's show to talk about selling your property with Prime Property Auctions. Now, myself and Stephen have both used John and Lewis from Prime in the past, and we can personally vouch for their service. They sell vacant and tenanted property, and you get to control the minimum reserve price so that you're not selling your property for peanuts. They pay for all the stuff like photos, videos, and all the marketing stuff up front, so you're not paying anything from the start, and it's a no sale, no fee. So if you want to check out Prime Property Auctions, then get across to the link on the show notes and speak to the guys.
So when I last went out to Dubai, it was 2019, just before COVID, and that was on a decline because I'd overdeveloped. And I remember at the time going down by the marina, and there was a lot of developments that had been built, and they were sitting empty because they hadn't been sold. So you were seeing a decline on the market then. So obviously I'm thinking, you've had this boom in Dubai. It looks good. You've got a decline because of overdeveloped, thinking everyone's going to come here. But I think from our research and people we're speaking to, is how Dubai dealt with COVID. Just had the eyes of the world on it. They dealt with it so easy. The economy flourished.
The rest of the world shut down. They opened up.
Yeah.
So basically, all the Russian assets that got frozen as well during the Ukraine-Russia war. There was nowhere for them to put their money apart from Dubai. So a lot of Russian money came in. A lot of Indian money's come in now as well. India economy is absolutely thriving, and they're investing.
So it was like a lot move on. But yeah, I kind of felt that it's a little bit of a boom. But then when you look at the stats, like you say, there's a war in Ukraine. Russians and Ukrainians are going there. When there's anything happening in any other parts of the world, people are just flocking to Dubai. We're seeing I think we had the stat. It was something like, I can't remember which one of the guests said it. But it was something like a millionaire in the UK leaves every 15 minutes or 45 minutes to go to Dubai. So if you're seeing hundreds of thousands of people leaving the Western world to relocate to Dubai, if they are developing, does the boom continue? I don't know. It does feel like it's a boom at the moment, but
from the agents that we're speaking to, there's no shortage of demand for all these new builds, and people are buying off plan and all the rest of it. The only issue is, again, will they just flood the market and saturate it, and will they oversupply?
They're flooding the market, but then we sort of went down to JBR, the beach, for some food, and there was all these little stalls where the agents are sitting there trying to ram investment properties down your throat. So if they were that in demand, would they be doing that? Would they have?
And I'm not convinced, because remember we were sitting there down at the marina for dinner and we're looking up at the lights, number of lights that are on in these big high rises. We're like, half of these are just empty. Yeah. There's nobody in them. So I'm going to throw a stat here in for the listeners. So they've got 325,000 residential units are currently in development in a city of 3.8.
That's nuts.
Million.
And you were saying in the market update earlier that Scotland needs to build 110,000.
That's in 10 years.
In 10 years, and they're building them in a year. Like, we saw how much development. It was just unreal. The money and the labour they can chuck at this to just get this expansion that they're needing.
In 2025, nearly 42,000 new homes, marking a 35% increase compared to the 27,500 units delivered in 2024.
Crazy. Yeah.
So I'm just thinking, do you know what? If you're investing, if you're going there to invest, if you've not got billions like a lot of these investors have, if you're putting your whole life savings in Dubai, proceed with caution, I would say.
Yeah, I think so, because I mean, if you're getting a property, you can listen to the episode with Harris as well. He'll tell you the exact numbers. But you were starting at 400,000-500,000 UK pounds.
Bedroom apartment or something.
It's about 1.52 million dirhams. If you're starting at that, you're starting at a higher entry point. You can see the return. I think he was saying it was about a 6% return on it. Mm-hmm. But I think if you are, like what Nick was saying, that if you are investing there, be prepared to take a little wobble. If it does drop down and you lose 10% on the value or 15% on the value, be prepared. I mean,
for me, it's too high risk. For me, it's not for me, even if I had the money, right? Which, at that level, I would be pumping everything into it.
I think I would like to take a chance on it.
Really?
I think I would take a punt on it. And do you know what I think
for
it was?
For the capital growth?
For the capital growth. I think it was, I'm sure it was Callum, or probably Callum White mentioned it. I think somebody else mentioned it as well over the time they were there. But they said, well, if Dubai's the fastest growing city economy in the world, look at the comparison on property prices to London or New York or Monaco. It's nowhere near what those prices are. So if you're comparing it to another,
I think it's got legs. Yeah, I do agree. It's going to grow a lot more, and there's still plenty of room for expansion. Obviously, it's just there's so much land round about.
Go into the desert.
And that doesn't stop them.
Yeah, they just build it in the
sea
palm.
Doesn't stop them either, because they just build on the sea.
Well, they're building another palm. So that was another little tease to the listeners as well. After the interview with Harris, where he showed us around his office space in the marina, which was cracking. It was a really, really cool setup. And then we convinced him to go and do a zip line, which we got right over the marina. And cool. While we were doing that, because we'd already had that booked, he had agreed to take us along the Palm to show us some villas. And we got in. There was a villa that was on the market that was developed from a developer. It was on the market for 70 million dirhams, right on the Palm, infinity pool, stunning. And again, this is where I think I like to know the numbers and the reality of this, because it was quite a funny story that I did share on the episode. Is Harris came on my workshop, and then 3 weeks later he's on a plane to Dubai, and then he messaged me on Instagram, I've got an opportunity for you. I'm out in Dubai. I've got this villa on the Palm. It's 14 million dirhams. We're in about a 6 million dirham to renovate it and stuff. Do you want to come in on it and stuff? And I was like, fuck off, like what the hell?
And that was a property.
This is like 2.5-3 years ago, and he's saying, well, if you've done nothing to that villa, it's you're not getting it for less than 30 million. And now, after a renovation, they're now on the market for the same one we saw, 70 million. So I was like absolutely kicking myself, thinking, fuck, I dismissed that opportunity. Obviously, huge growth. But what
would you trade? Sorry.
Well, I like the transparency say on what Harris was saying, because he was explaining the full developer market. And I obviously asked him, I'm always curious in the numbers, and also, okay, the developer bought it for, I think it was 28 million. They've spent 15 million on it. It's now on the market for 70 million. Great margin. Then he says, but the government in Dubai, they've put the permits prices up. So 2 years ago, it was £2,500 a square foot to apply for permits, so planning permission to get the development. Now it's up to £7,500 a square foot. So when you worked it out on that villa that we actually viewed and looked at, the planning permission alone was 20 million dirhams just to get the permit on it. So you just see the margin just shrink to almost nothing, a few million dirham for this development. So it just shows you that, okay, you're tax free on your income and other things, but they're taxing you somewhere. You're paying a premium somewhere.
I was surprised at that, actually, for the permits and all that. I thought it'd be
it's crazy. Yeah,
I thought they'd just be really, it'd be low barrier to entry because they're just like really encouraging the investment. But yeah, it was pricey
because people are going to spend the money, people are going to develop, and it's in demand. So the government's taking advantage.
70 million dirhams, so that works out at about £15 million.
Yeah.
So would you have traded your Aberdeen portfolio for that then?
Absolutely. Aye. Absolutely.
So opportunity missed there.
Yeah, it was really good, and then took us to another villa in a different community. Where it was slightly more affordable. I think the developer had bought it for 6.4. I think you've got the numbers written down, and it was on the market for I think about 10 million dirhams.
Yeah,
and it was a nice.
It's interesting seeing stuff going through renovation as well.
Yeah,
because like we talk a lot about in this country, like we need the labour, right? So out there they just get like floods of labour coming in from I don't know. Asia and all the rest of it,
Pakistan, India,
and that. We turn up on these development sites and there'll just be like busloads of guys. I think what they do is there's mixed views on this, because when Qatar had the World Cup and all that, they got a lot of bad press for obviously cheap labour and the working conditions and human rights and all the rest of it. But I think these people in general, we never actually spoke to any of them, but I think they're pretty well looked after in terms of they provide them with accommodation, food. I think they have these worker camps on the outside the city, and they'll basically bust them in. And they all seem pretty happy when we saw them working away on site. So. Yeah,
and apparently it's so much more money they'd make back home that they actually managed to save up, send the money back home, and almost work a few years and go back rich into their country. So yeah, I think you can look at it from both sides.
But it was funny, obviously, like, we're used to dealing with like Howden's laminate worktops and all the rest of it, and you walked into these kitchens and it's like pure marble everywhere,
Italian
isn't
marble everywhere. It was stunning.
So again, guys, just on that, we did a couple of property tours that were like kind of vlog. It was like vlogging content where we just walked around the properties. So we're going to get them edited and put up on YouTube.
Aye, so make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. They've got Scottish Property Podcast YouTube channel, and when they're released, you'll get a notification that they're up, because we won't be able to release them as an episode on the podcast, but they'll be bonus content. And we did a few villas. We did quite a few actually. A few tours.
And then we had, just quickly running through Kaiser. We had Kaiser, Salimi, mortgage broker, and obviously helped us out with our Dundee networking events. He's moved his family out there, so it was a different perspective. Absolutely. Because most of the people that we spoke to were like young, no ties, all the rest of it. He's a family man, 3 kids, talked about the local schooling, what you need to think about really as a family setting up there, and it's no cheap. You need to have savings behind you.
But also the cost of living. I mean, he gave us prices on the rent of what they need to pay in a villa community and stuff like that as well, where you be comfortable with your family. But then also the schooling fees were all private, obviously English curriculum school. They're expensive. We reckon it was about 25 grand a head per child, plus 40 grand a year was for the rent. So we were kind of looking at it and going, if you've not got 100 grand a year income in there, you've got a basic lifestyle. So as much as tax free, the cost of living is still a lot higher. For me, that was the one conversation where I came away from it thinking I could live out here, because I seen a family man, like Kaiser, moving his family out there, and he was telling us about it. For me, it was when he talked about, obviously he's got a teenage daughter, right? I think 13 maybe? Yeah, 13, 14,
14 maybe. And he was like, back home I would always be worried about her going out with her friends and all the rest of it. We know young people around the city centres and all that, what they get up to, all sorts, drinking, drugs, all they're exposed to. Out there, you don't have any of that worry as a parent. So for me, I was like, God, that'd be great. She was going to the shopping centre on a Saturday afternoon with my pals. Kez like, I don't need to worry about it. Yeah. There's no crime, there's no weirdos, there's no...
I think he'd actually mentioned as well, like, a lot of times they've got to shout the kids in at 11 o'clock at night when it's getting dark, and that reminded me to, like, I suppose our childhoods.
Yeah.
Growing up, that I know that our kids are just they're not going to get. We're going to be too worried about them. We're going to wrap them up in cotton wool. We're going to let them play on a phone. Dangers that provides, rather than going outside and playing fucking chappy door running and smashing windows. But as out there, it was like there was just such a friendly, safe place for kids to grow up in.
So at that moment, I jumped in the taxi and I was on the phone to Lisa. I was like, I was
look up
texting
teaching
her.
jobs.
So she was looking up teaching jobs, and Indeed, because if you're a teacher out there, you get well looked after and you get some free education or part discounted private education Plus, I think you get living expenses as well.
Relocation packages and everything, yeah.
So we're going back out in October, having a look at it. But
Nick was packing up the bags after that trip.
It's not off the cards, but I've got to say, just the kind of lack of vibrancy, I think, was lacking for me, and the kind of soullessness a wee bit kind of got me in the end. So I'm still, the jury's out. I'm not 100% sure. We'll give you a final verdict at the end of this episode.
Yep. So then we met up with other people in the community that reached out to us on the Sunday. So that was good. And then we ended up going for dinner with Ewan Dudding again, getting more of a chat on him and how he's running his business and how he's operating.
Emily, we had Emily.
Yeah, we had Emily on the Monday. So the Monday morning we got invited to the White & Co.'s office for the sales meeting. And they're inside the same building that Aslop was that Emily works for.
Emily's now a recruiter. She started out as a real estate agent.
So it was good to hear Emily's story as well, because Emily obviously helped out with the Glasgow networking event when she was a Keller Williams agent. So to see her have an experience in property in the UK and Scotland, then going to Dubai and her saying that it actually means fuck all, like it really isn't. It's you need a certain skill set, a certain mentality to make it work out there.
Aye, just because you're successful in a estate agency here doesn't mean that you're going to just breeze it out there.
Yeah, so she gave the harsh reality of what it was like being a real estate agent over in Dubai, and she kind of, it wasn't for her. It was cutthroat. Wasn't really much in the relationships. But you can hear all her story on the episode. I won't actually say too much. So she's kind of changed past a little bit. So that was nice. Good conversation as well. And then we met up with
Alex Walker.
Yeah.
We didn't do a podcast with Alex Walker. And we also met up with Ross Harper, but we didn't do a podcast with him either.
Yeah, so we did have a few conversations. We didn't record. Alex Walker was brilliant. Again, he's at his 300 houses. He's looking to potentially relocate as well and set something up there. So it was nice to see people that were looking at Dubai for investment, for growing their business, relocating their business, and there. So and then we met up with Ewan again.
Ewan got a couple. Oh no, aye. We've 2 or 3 times we met up with Ewan, but Ewan's a great guy. I love Ewan. He's so positive.
I actually really enjoyed the chat with Ross Harper. I hadn't met him in person. I think I had him on the podcast during COVID. And a lot of the times he came on to Zoom and stuff, so you're very familiar with Ross Harper. He owns Auction in Scotland. He's I think with Adam Lawrenson at the time.
He's got a lot going on out there. Probably stuff that he doesn't want us to talk about in the podcast. Amounts.
But I loved the chat there. Just sitting and chatting with him was phenomenal. And it was good of him to give us his time as well. Yeah, it was good.
Right. So just to sum it up, then, obviously, guys, keep your eye out on all these episodes that are going to be coming out. What we'll do is we'll release one a month, just so it's going to be a series. Scots and Dubai, over the next 6 months. But just to sum up, Stephen, would you live out there? Would you move out there?
Yeah, I think I would. I loved how safe the city was, how positive it was. Yeah, I love the fact there's opportunity, and I love the fact that it's just different cultures from the UK. You get rewarded for the effort and the value you put in, whereas here, I feel like a lot of people can just be a salary drain on a company.
Yeah,
it's not rewarded.
What summarised for me is, what I saw is a lot of people are going out there just for a kind of, maybe a 5-year or something like that. Going out, try to make as much as possible to basically create a foundation of wealth that they can then either retire off of or come back to UK and just create a better life back here, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't see people really staying there long term. I don't think I could. I couldn't go out there and live for the rest of my days. If it was going out there to live there, it would be a 5 to 10 year play.
Yeah.
Back to Scotland. Just missed the greenery, missed the fresh air, there's too much. Scotland's got a lot going for it, man.
It has if it's run right.
I'm talking about the scenery.
Oh, the scenery, absolutely. I mean,
the mountains, the fresh air.
Yeah, you don't get more of a beautiful country than we've got right here, but yeah.
But in terms of the whole government stuff that's going on at the moment and the state of the economy, then you can understand why people are leaving.
The pool,
especially if you've got a small business
or a decent salary, a decent income, or you want to create wealth, that you can understand the pool.
And even big business, actually, we're seeing move there as well. We saw like Google offices, financial services now, big headquarters moving out to Dubai as well. So I think that's a big shift. So yeah. It's got pros and cons, guys, and obviously you make your own judgment, and hopefully that helps.
Yeah, we tried to be as insightful as we could, and obviously speak to a variety of different people, and obviously they were appreciate them taking the time and being honest with their insights as well.
Great. So stay tuned for more Dubai content coming up.